You're watching Force 13's live streaming service. Welcome to Force 13's live coverage once again of Hurricane Isaias as it approaches the southeastern part of the United States, and it's traveling through the Bahamas right now where hurricane warnings are in effect. Hurricane warnings are now also in effect for the southeastern United States, Florida. Hurricane watches and tropical storm warnings and watches extend upon various parts of the coast as well. The storm is currently moving towards the northwest, the latest from the National Hurricane Center. Winds of 75 miles per hour and a pressure of 991. And we expect further strengthening over the next 24 hours as it passes probably just west of Nassau and near Andros Island. My name's Nathan Foy. I'm joined by our Discord team tonight, as always, has been the case this week or so. We're joined by quite a large array of people today, consisting of Elliot, Isaac, Justin, Ryan, Nuke, Tim, Euxinator, and Wyatt. Good evening to all of you.
Good evening, Nathan.
Good evening.
Well, it's certainly going to be a busy night by the looks of things, but right in front of us right now is the satellite imagery of the storm, and we've got it there, and this is the latest visible imagery. You've got right now two areas that are blowing up large amounts of convection. To be honest with you, the one east of the storm center looks to be larger, but you've got those two nonetheless. Could someone explain what's going on here? Who wants the floor first?
Well, basically what we're seeing here is basically a strengthening hurricane. And on radar imagery, it's not really apparent on satellite imagery, but radar imagery has shown over the afternoon that an inner core with an eye wall has been indeed developing. So it's really pretty clear that this is intensifying, and it's going to be something that we're going to watch very closely over the next couple days. And the big convective blob to the east is probably just a very large, thick band, honestly. But it's honestly the rotation that we're seeing in the western part. It's basically very indicative of a healthy tropical cyclone, and I'm expecting that we're going to see some strengthening over the next couple days.
Now, this is what we're looking at, the radar imagery provided by Isaac. And you can see in those later frames there, it's becoming a lot more distinguished in the radar imagery. At the moment, it's just west of Long Island in the Bahamas. And then it will be moving on up towards, I think it's Exuma up there, is it? And then up towards Andros and Nassau. So we're watching this very closely, still moving towards the northwest. Isaac, your observations?
Well, looking over the storm through the day here, it's been gradually intensifying by the looks of it. Earlier this morning, when I was getting a quick glimpse of it earlier, it looked like it was sheared a little bit, and I was hoping that would stay in effect, but unfortunately a big burst of convection fired pretty much over the center, and as you can see with the radar, it keeps progressively getting better and better and better with each frame here. And this is a radar site off of Long Island, Bahamas, not Long Island, New York, Long Island, Bahamas here.
Both of them could be affected by the storm, though.
True, but this is off of Long Island, Bahamas here, so it's quite close to the actual center of circulation there, the eye perhaps trying to form there. And like I said, it just keeps getting better and better with each frame, unfortunately. And we'll just see if that continues to happen or if it decides to weaken again.
I'm cool guy, and you really are a cool guy, says, is Long Island getting tropical storm force winds? I don't know whether you mean now or anytime soon. Well, it'll be early next week.
In the Bahamas, are we talking about the Bahamas or?
I don't know. actually.
That's the problem. Is well, if it's in the Bahamas, then I would think
It's
you're
right
getting a
now.
tropical storm. Yeah, Long Island in the Bahamas is currently getting tropical storm force winds. Probably getting 50 knot winds, I would think, maybe.
Maybe.
Hold on, let's check. Yeah, no, they're definitely getting tropical storm force winds. Yeah.
I just want to also, okay. I also want to mention something I just found on Twitter. This happened earlier today. So in Nassau, Bahamas, the Linden Pendling International Airport ceased operations on Friday, July 31st at 3 p.m. their time as a result of Hurricane Isaias, I believe.
Careful.
Sorry. The airport will remain closed to further notice in its sole flight for let me just.
Yep. And go ahead.
And yeah, it'll be close to further notice until the storm probably passes over.
Well, that's no surprise. And that's Yuxinator there. You're also in Florida right now. You under any warnings?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. Because I think I'm just gonna be hit by the outer bands, but because of the location I'm at. But I know plenty of people who are currently under the warnings. In fact, I know people under hurricane watches right now in Florida.
Let's reiterate those watches and warnings right now for those who aren't completely up to speed. A hurricane warning was issued at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So the hurricane warning is currently in effect for Boca Raton to the Volusia Brevard County line in Florida and most of the Bahamas. A hurricane watch from Hallandale Beach to south of Boca Raton and the Volusia Brevard County line to the Flagler Volusia County line. A storm surge watch for Jupiter Inlet to Ponte Vedre Beach, Florida. A tropical storm warning for the Turks and Caicos Islands still at this point, which is quite curious actually. North of Ocean Reef to south of Boca Raton, Florida and Lake Okeechobee. And a tropical storm watch for the Flagler Volusia County line to Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida, quite high up there. And we expect, as we look at the National Hurricane Center's forecast cone here, that the closest pass of the storm will take place on the overnight hours, Saturday night into Sunday morning. And that could be the time where it potentially makes a landfall. Does anyone here really think that it will make a landfall, or are we still thinking that it's going to be offshore?
Florida?
Yes.
I think
in Florida. I don't know. I really don't know.
We've seen it so many times, haven't we? But
Yeah, that's going to be a
really
really
landfall, but I'm not really sure. Anyway,
it's gonna be
landfall. It's gonna have quite the impact on Florida, especially along the eastern coast.
now's probably a good time to talk about the potential threat levels of Isaias. On the screen now, is it on the screen?
not
on
yet.
the screen now. Okay. So in just a second, a graphic will come up. Yes, but
I'm not showing you. It's not showing up anything here, but we'll maybe just try again in a moment. I'll let you know when we've got it. In the meantime, let's see, who else have we got here? Nook, you're here as well tonight, joining us from Central Florida as well.
Yep.
Any changes in your neck of the woods?
Well, I am under a tropical storm warning as
You
of
are?
right now.
Ah.
So, I can give you like all of the warnings for all the counties if you'd like, just so we can get that out there to everyone.
The inland counties, if you like, sure.
Yep. Okay. So right now we have multiple warnings for multiple counties. So for right now, a tropical storm watch is only in effect for Flagler County. A tropical storm warning is in effect for Orange, Osceola, Seminole, Okeechobee, Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade until further notice. A hurricane watch is in effect for inland Palm Beach and coastal Volusia. And a hurricane warning is in effect for Brevard, St. Lucie, Martin, coastal Palm Beach, and Indian River until further notice. I don't know about the storm surge watches. I could probably get that in about a minute. But that's just where we are right now.
A significant chunk of the coast under the storm surge watches at this point. And I think Isaac's got up the graphic. Is that right?
Yes, this is the graphic that Wyatt was mentioning. So if he's still here, if you could go ahead and mention what your graphic means here.
The main threats.
Yeah. Okay. So right now, I mean, that one is obviously the center, and like we were talking about earlier, that white line in the middle, that's the potential area. That's where the center is going to go, and it's going to be
Potentially.
Yeah, potentially. That's going to be one of the closest calls in a while, possibly even closer than Matthew. I don't know. It's going to be a close one, but anyway, anywhere in that orange swath, you have a good chance of receiving sustained tropical storm force winds at this time. And in the yellow part, you have maybe some gusty winds, but not sustained tropical storm force winds, and maybe some heavy rainfall as well. But another threat we need to talk about is the storm surge. So, like earlier mentioned, the storm surge watches do go up on the Florida coast. Storm surge of up to 4 feet of inundation is possible along the east coast, as well as high waves, dangerous rip currents at the beaches with minor beach erosion possible as well.
So they're calling for 4 feet at the moment as maximums, are they?
I believe so. Let me triple check that.
Yeah.
I believe. I don't want to get anything wrong here because.
But this track here is as it stands right now, and this could still be subject to change.
Yes. There is still quite a. I think there's still like a little bit of a model difference, but it's not really major now. I mean, we're closing in on the time.
It's not too far away. Yeah, it's from the potential Florida landfall or the closest pass. You're talking 36 hours. So it's not too far into the future. And actually, looking at the forecast from the National Hurricane Center, it looks like they're taking it over Andros Island now. So that's it's the largest island of the Bahamas. So that could possibly interfere with the storm a little bit.
Right.
Maybe being a bit optimistic there.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But you got to understand that Andros Island is very flat. So it might not do that much to the storm.
And we've also got Recon out and about tonight as well. What's going on with them?
Well, Recon has been flying around the plane for quite a while now, and they've already had 10 missions in total on this storm already. So the 10th and 9th missions are already getting some center passes in. The next center passes for both systems, I imagine, will come in during the next 20 minutes or so. NOAA 9, the 8th mission for the storm, has been doing some upper level and dropson sampling just to sort of gauge what kind of conditions the storm has around it and ahead of it. So they've been hard at work too, but it seems that NOAA 3 and the Air Force 305 are sampling the center of the storm, and we'll probably get a center pass pretty soon, so I'll check back in with that.
Yeah, we will get a center pass possibly in the next few minutes because as of 2307Z, it's getting really, really close to what appears to be the center.
So they haven't yet got a fix in the was that 991 earlier? Because I wasn't around. The 991, was that from Recon earlier on?
It was indeed.
Not sure.
It was. So this will be the first pressure pass if we get one for a few hours.
I believe so.
So we might get some interesting new data, considering looking at that radar loop, how it appears to be getting better over time. You wouldn't be surprised to see that the pressure reaches a new low pretty soon. 990 is the current peak intensity of the storm pressure-wise. It looks like it's going to be the 980s.
Yeah, and maybe even I bet the wind speed, there's probably a good chance that will go up as well. Maybe to 80, 85. I doubt 85, maybe 80. But we'll see.
Now, elsewhere, we also had the formation of Tropical Depression 10 earlier today. There it is on the very far right-hand side of your screen, and believe it or not, the National Hurricane Center are now expecting that will become a tropical storm. So would you believe it, we could be up to the J-named storm on the first day of August, maybe even sooner, local time. No, I don't think that's possible now, actually. No, it would be the 1st of August, because the next update's at 2 a.m.
2 a.m. Cape Verde time.
Cape Verde
so,
time.
Yeah, it'll be August by the next update.
And here in the UK, it's been August for a whole 15 minutes, but the UTC clock, Universal Time, still has us in July for 45 more minutes at least. But again, there we are. You can see the broad view here, both of the systems, and in between that area of interest, which is in the central Atlantic, pretty small, but there is a chance that it could become another brief spin-up tropical storm as well. Imagine that, we could get the K storm in the first 3 days of August. That would be insane.
And if this does get tropical depression 10 does get named, it'll be called Josephine. That's actually a more pronounceable name than the storm that we're tracking right now, thankfully. But if it does get named, it'll be called Josephine Tropical Depression 10.
Meanwhile, elsewhere, we're watching fairly closely what's going on in the Western Pacific right now, because there's an extremely broad tropical depression in the South China Sea about to make landfall on Hainan. The JMA, the Japanese Meteorological Agency, have designated that as a tropical depression, and that's also got 45 minutes to become a tropical storm. Otherwise, it will be the quietest Western Pacific July, well, the only July that had no tropical storms at all since 1886, which is a very long time ago. Even our elder statesman David wasn't around to witness that one. But there it is, an extremely large tropical cyclone, not yet with storm force winds yet, though. That's pretty much your tour around the world. Now back to where it's all going off at the moment. Hurricane Isaias blowing up that massive burst of convection there in those latest frames. Let's check that on the infrared. Yeah, blowing up significantly. Those black and grey areas denote cloud tops below minus 70 degrees Celsius, and the colder the cloud tops indicate higher clouds, and that means usually stronger underneath as well. And you're looking at it there, but I'm still curious as to these two areas of convection blowing up. There's one where the center is on the left hand side, and there's still one on the right hand side near Crooked Island in the Bahamas. So what's the deal with that one, if anything?
I mean, it appears that it's probably more like a feeder band, or maybe, yeah, let me pull up satellite quickly. Yeah, this burst of convection in the center is obviously the center, but then you have what looks to be maybe a really large feeder band developing, and that may wrap into the center as well later on. It just depends on exactly what happens, because there is also some thunderstorms, some smaller thunderstorms beginning to fire up over southeastern Cuba as well. And based on conditions we've seen earlier today, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised to see those pretty strong as well. So,
have we got some recon news?
No, not yet. I'm just about to. We should be getting the next results in the next couple of minutes.
Okay.
Well, we don't have any recon. I do have some footage.
Yeah, I was just about to go over to that. Let's take a look.
This is in Puerto Rico. The National Guard there has been called as there's catastrophic flooding.
Yeah, that's quite clear. Look at that.
This is in Mayagüez, I think that's how it's pronounced, Puerto Rico. Mayagüez, I know, is one of the biggest cities in Puerto Rico, so
that's 2 days ago.
Yes.
This is July 30th on there.
Quite deep.
Yesterday.
And similar circumstances in the Dominican Republic from what we've seen as well. So, a big flooding issue over there on multiple islands of the Greater Antilles.
Yeah, and um, it already looked like it's starting to get a bit, floody. What is that? It's starting to get a bit floody down um in the Bahamas,
All right,
like the
we have
lower
breaking
islands.
news about Recon. Hold on, let me get the sample ready.
It does
Don't
show
shout
that
breaking
Oh,
news
wait.
when you're not ready with it, man.
Breaking news. An aircraft has found a minimum central pressure of 985.5 millibars.
What?
They found it in the last pass before that too, with the NOAA plane.
The center pass that happened just a few minutes ago.
Elliot, you got that?
Yet. But
All right,
I believe-
985.
What plane would that be? It depends on which plane you're looking at.
I'm looking at the NOAA 3.
Yeah, I'm
This
looking
is
at the
a
NOAA 3
this is
too.
the AF-305 mission that just found these winds. This
Okay.
is the plane that was coming in from, I believe, Keesler Air Force Base.
Yep, and that
Yep.
would definitely appear as though it does indicate an extrapolated pressure of 985.5 millibars, and that is with some 30 plus miles an hour flight level winds. So it could actually
Oh,
be
wow.
slightly lower than that when adjusted.
Wow.
Well, that's
see.
fascinating. So it's becoming rather clear at this point that we've got an intensification phase underway.
Yeah, this storm's definitely intensifying. No doubt about
Which
it.
is really bad. And I just found even more footage that shows you just how bad the flooding is right now. I'm gonna get it up in a little bit. But this is obviously from a few days ago in Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic. I don't know which area this is. I couldn't tell, but it's in El Sabo or something. Let me check again.
Hey, Nathan.
Tim?
Yeah, something to note on these two recon passes.
Yeah.
They are both going through the northwestern side of the eye wall. And some of the raw data that I'm looking at is hinting that there are hurricane force SFMRs in the northwestern eye wall. So we'll have to see how it looks when they come on the southeast and make another pass through that northeast. We may be looking at a much stronger storm
Much
than
stronger.
75, potentially much stronger than 75 miles per hour. It just really depends on what recon finds when they go back through that northeastern eye wall.
I will say in the last pass before this by the NOAA plane that was in it before this AF plane went through, this Air Force plane went through, they also recorded a pressure of 985 millibars as well. So be curious to see what the National Hurricane Center have in a newest update for this storm.
Definitely.
And yeah, like I said, I also have more footage of more floodwaters.
We saw this one on a previous live stream, but I'm sure many people haven't seen this so far. And again, it's showing waist deep waters there. That was in Puerto Rico?
Oh dear.
I believe it was in El Sabo. Well, I can look that where that's
Either Puerto Rico or Dominican Republic, somewhere over there.
Dominican Republic,
Yes, I thought so.
which I've been to myself, so I know how bad this really is for those there.
Well, there we are. So we've got that recon data suggesting a pressure in the 980s, which became abundantly clear when we looked at the satellite imagery and the radar imagery, I think, that it was going to be deeper than 991 by now. Isaac, anything you've noticed more on the radar imagery just now?
Well, as we look over past these past 10 hours here on the radar data, the eye just keeps getting more and more pronounced with time. Earlier in the loop, I know it's kind of hard to see because it's going to be on the bottom of your screen. It looked like really the northern side was really only present, but now with each new and passing frame, the eye just keeps improving and improving and improving, which is unfortunate to see as it gets closer and closer to the Bahamas here. I really don't want to see another hurricane go through pretty much the same area as that Hurricane Dorian went through almost a year ago.
But Isaac, could that just be a case of the radar station getting closer to the storm getting closer to it rather, and it's starting to see more of the storm, or is it actually has it actually built that in the last few hours?
I think this is actually what's going on, because when I was looking at the Cuba radar to the south of this earlier from Camagüey, I believe it's called, it was also showing kind of the same thing happening here, where originally the northern side was pretty much the only thing that was present of the storm, but now with each new and passing frame, the entire eye seems to be getting better and better to find. Let me see if I think I actually have this is the radar off of Cuba actually right now. This is off of Camagüey, so it's pretty far in terms of where the radar site is, but you could pretty much see the same thing I was talking to you about earlier, hopefully. The northern side was pretty much more prominent earlier, and now the entire eye wall seems to be getting more and more defined, sadly, over time. Nathan.
Okay, well, go ahead.
Well,
Okay. I guess I'll go first.
Whose turn was it? Euxinea.
Okay, sorry. I actually have footage from just a few minutes ago, I think. This is the calm before the storm, I guess you could say, in the Bahamas right now.
Well, it depends where, because some places are in the middle of the storm just now.
Well, I don't know exactly where this is, but this is very recent. As you can see, the waves are starting to really pick up here. And as they're being stirred by Isaias. Oh, wait,
We've still got struggling with the pronunciation in some quarters here.
Isaias.
Isaias. I can
Isaias.
say it, it's fine.
It takes a while. It takes a little while, but you get it over time.
Yeah. Anyways, this is just showing how reckless the seas already be starting to get over by Bahamas before the storm has even made it to the Bahamas.
And typical conditions that you'd expect in the around the peripheries of a hurricane, the central areas, the overcast and low clouds almost down to the ground, and the visibility's down, and you're seeing quite a lot of...
Oh, it was on Blue Lagoon Island, by the way.
Blue Lagoon Island.
Yeah.
Speaking of winds, though, does anybody here happen to have a velocity image from the closest radar to the eye wall?
Well, unfortunately, with the Cuba and Bahama radars at this time, they don't give velocity data to the public. Unfortunately, it's just reflectivity at this point in time. So
yeah, that reflectivity.
Your best bet would be to wait till it gets closer to Florida.
Yeah,
definitely.
The radar
check
image.
Miami radar in a bit.
Yeah, the radar image, though, coming out of that, I mean, that's pretty well-defined band, on the eye wall, like a pretty well-defined eye wall almost, like at least the northern half. So I'm just curious to know what the possible winds are.
Well, at least we got Recon in there, and from what I've seen, and Elliot could elaborate further because he's been paying attention to this more than I have. I believe Recon has still finding a hurricane force from Mars, if I'm not mistaken, Elliot, right?
That would be correct. And from what it looks like, we're actually seeing some near 70 knot SFMRs. The highest unflagged one I'm seeing right now is 67 knots, but that could easily change as we get more center passes and we get more data.
And 67 knots to miles per hour is 77 miles per hour. Nathan?
We're struggling a little bit with the Miami radar at the moment. I can only get this one frame right now. I don't know why this is. But that's the latest frame that we've got from about now, actually, last minute. So you can see there, it's just a little illustration. There's not much going on in the vicinity of Miami, but you can see a little bit, one of the peripheral bands moving through northern Andros Island towards Bimini, and then eventually towards the Keys. There's also a little bit more weather up there towards... the southwestern part of Florida. A few thunderstorms blowing through, but...
There's some stuff up north as well.
Probably is, but doesn't look like anything major just now.
No.
Also, sort of have more footage. This was organized by another company, so I'm a bit hesitant showing it, but it's from yesterday as well, and it just shows you how fierce this storm has actually been so far, and that the worst could be yet to come, but the worst also may have already passed.
Well, we do expect that the storm will intensify beyond its previous peak, so I'd imagine the worst is still yet to come.
Recon center pass has been in, and it looks like that the Air Force plane did get a center pass of around 988 millibars extrapolated.
988.
So yeah, we'll have to see what the drop-ons pull in for those center passes. And that'll likely be the basis of what the National Hurricane Center does use for this upcoming advisory within the top of the hour.
Yes, they will have the advisory in, and they'll lower the pressure. Will they raise the winds, though?
I don't know.
It's possible.
It's possible. I mean, what are the readings that we're getting out? I don't see like any clear evidence of this being like, if the winds are like stronger. They probably are. I would probably say right now maybe 80 miles an hour based on recon.
And here's the rainfall chart that we ought to show to you as well. The yellow zones there, that's 4 to 6 inches of rain. The oranges just off the coast of Florida there, that's 6 to 10. Now, if the storm does deviate a little bit further west and we're looking at a Florida landfall, then you're looking at more than 6 inches of rain wherever the landfall takes place and wherever the storm tracks over, and isolated up to 10, maybe more. And interestingly, it's already starting to become clearer that it could be a significant rain event further north as well. 4 inches, Tim, in North Carolina. How would that be over there?
4 inches along the East Coast would put a lot of impacts around the Jacksonville, Camp Lejeune, Wilmington, North Carolina area, where in the news before we went live, North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina, and Florida have already declared states of emergencies before the impacts of Isaias. And I know we were talking model guidance earlier of how close this could get to the Florida coastline. Some of the models actually have this getting as close as 8 miles to the coastline before it start making a recurve. So this is going to be one of those storms. Another deviation to the west could maybe be a potential landfall depending on how close it gets.
Matthew was something like, was it 15 miles?
I believe so.
Really close. I mean, 8 miles, you're probably in the eye by that point.
Yeah, pretty close on that. And some other news, the Jacksonville and Fort Lauderdale ports have implemented their status of X-ray, meaning that they are on a level 2 readiness for port closures and safety. Right now, ports are not closing, but they will be exercising some extra caution with any cargo ships coming in and out of the area up to about 24 to 48 hours before anticipated conditions.
Really blowing up in the latest frames and expanding in that as well. Most impressive on the visible imagery that you're seeing here. It's the last visible of the day by the looks of things now. You can see that band moving across from the right hand side. That's basically the visible transferring to the infrared as last light fades over the storm, because this is pretty much live right now. The last frame of this image, I don't actually have the timestamp with me, but I think, yes, it's just 2 minutes ago, so it is pretty much current, and if nothing else, it's a good tool to see where the sun's setting, but there it is, right over the storm right now. Ethan, one of our members, was in the chat not long ago, and we will look at the chat a lot more very shortly, now that we've had a discussion, about what he should be expecting up where he is right now, because he's on vacation. Any thoughts?
Yeah, well, Ethan is watching this very closely up in his location. A little bit of breaking news while we were discussing this. Fourth drop son from the AF305 does confirm a center pressure of 988 millibars.
Okay. So down a little bit. It'd be interesting to see whether they upgrade the intensity a little bit or not. It wouldn't surprise me if they kept it, but, well.
Yeah, I think that at this point there's just enough evidence that they'll have to go with like 988, because you've got two recon planes that are both supporting at least 988 millibars, both through drops on and extrapolated pressures. And we know that extrapolated pressures can be a little lower than surface pressures in actuality, but I think that they'll go with 988.
Let's take a few questions then whilst we wait for the National Hurricane Center's update, because I saw a few there. Here's an interesting one to start with. Will the full moon affect the storm surge? I saw that moon out there not long ago. I'm not so sure.
Yeah, I'm not really sure if tides will actually have an effect, but we'll see.
Sorry to interrupt there. I was busy, a little bit busy there. But and they were saying that it would increase the tides by about a foot or two because of that full moon.
Interesting. Of course, it depends whether the storm makes landfall, whether it pushes through high or low tide over on the coast of Florida, and I don't know the specifics on that just right now, but if anyone could find that out for us in this room. More questions then. Is it a pinhole eye?
I would honestly not really call it a pinhole eye yet. I mean, it's still definitely in the process of forming.
I mean, it doesn't even have an eye on satellite.
Do we think
it doesn't work.
Isaias is undergoing eye wall replacement right now due to 2 areas of convection?
I don't think that necessarily. I think more likely it's in the process of forming an eye right now more than anything.
It looks like it. Just had that again. What about the band of dry air that we're seeing get pulled in? Are you seeing it?
Well, I could see it, I guess, on radar a little bit, what they're maybe referring to between these, especially in these later frames. There's a little kind of gap between the rain band, the outermost rain band there, and then the eye wall itself. So I could maybe see that, but right now it doesn't really seem to be affecting the storm at this point in time. It's still chugging along and forming that eye quite well, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I just want to bring this up really quick. The drop sonde in the northwestern eye wall does confirm that there are surface winds of at least 71 knots.
Oh wow, so they'll have to upgrade it then in that case, if that's substantiated.
Yeah. Does seem to be substantiated.
Nathan, to answer your question about the tidal cycle, based on the current NHC cone and with the current tide, Miami Beach would be looking at the closest pass of Isaias right around high tide at 2 a.m.
Wow. Okay, so
That is not a good combo.
Yep, that adds a little bit onto that, so storm surge watch is probably justified.
Mm-hmm.
And I expect that they'll be upgraded to warnings eventually.
Now, you figure tidal cycle varies. It could add anywhere between 2 to 3 feet. So you're talking what would normally be a 4 to 5 foot storm surge now ends up becoming easily a 7 to 10 foot storm surge, depending on the tidal cycle at the time.
Yes, definitely. I think we've got a bit more of a radar loop out of Miami now, so you can see sort of the direction of those small rain showers at the moment. That's really all we're seeing from the storm so far in Florida, but trust me, it's on its way. But that's just a little snippet of the very northern periphery of the storm and how it relates to the southeastern United States and indeed the state of Florida. Let's go back to Isaac's radar, which we've been watching very closely, almost like a hawk in the last hour or two. Very interesting observations coming out then that we may have 80-mile-an-hour winds and a pressure around 988. National Hurricane Center will update soon. Not sure exactly when that will be. So they always state the time that they'll update, and it's 8 p.m., not as always. But they can update earlier, and they often do. So that's why we start looking around now. But nothing from them just yet. As it is right now, Isaias has winds of 75 miles an hour and a pressure of 991. A hurricane warning in effect for the east coast of Florida from Boca Raton to the Volusia Brevard county line. And a hurricane watch is in effect, I think, on either side of that, and a storm surge watch as well for Florida from Jupiter Inlet to Ponte Vedra Beach. And of course the Bahamas under hurricane warnings, and still the Turks and Caicos under a tropical storm warning, even though most of the storm is long gone. Not long gone, but clearing away.
And tropical storm force winds have stopped or have moved away from the Turks and Caicos Islands. So I don't know, warnings should be lifted soon, I would imagine.
Here's some more questions. We'll try and do a bit of rapid fire. Could Isaias make landfall south of West Palm Beach, or is it almost certain it will hit central Florida?
Really depends on that western track it takes. If it goes a little bit further west, very possible. If it goes further east, it could graze. It just really depends on the steering current and how close it's really going to parallel the coast.
And also how strong the storm is, because you must keep in mind, usually with a stronger storm, we see a storm go more north or northeast. So if this storm gets a lot stronger than forecast, then the chances of it perhaps missing Florida here get higher and higher. But if it, I guess, kind of stays at the same intensity, the chances of it impacting Florida even more are going to be a little bit higher.
But hey, the biggest headline right now, well, apart from the recon maybe, is that convection really blowing up and actually falling back in now by the looks of things towards the center. So really blowing out the black areas, that's minus 70 cloud tops or greater generally. The convection still going strong on the eastern side of the storm, displaced from the center too, but the center is the area on the left hand side. It's much more rounded, and the eye is underneath there. Eventually you will start to see the eye on satellite imagery. I've got a feeling that might happen overnight here.
Easily could. It's really trying to intensify here, unfortunately, just looking both at radar and satellite and then even recon. I mean, earlier it looked like it was going to be on a weakening trend because, of course, those of you who were up in the morning, the storm was, I believe it was sheared a little bit to the west, I think it was, so the center was exposed for a short amount of time, but then a big burst of convection pretty much fired over the center and covered that up, and then now, of course, it kind of has that classic look like it's about to intensify more here, unfortunately. It just has that look to it, per se.
Yeah.
For those of you guys that
it looks like it might be possibly like trying to almost wrap around itself and then just kind of intensify.
Tim, you've been tracking tropical cyclones for 25 years, and what would you liken this to?
This actually is my 26th season. Based on the track that we're seeing, this kind of reminds me of almost a Matthew-like track where instead of it coming up through the center of the Caribbean, it kind of went through probably the most, what's the word I'm looking for? The tightest pass between Hispaniola and Puerto Rico, and that's not something you normally see out of a storm to hit that pass.
Cuba.
Is it?
Cuba, yeah. Hispaniola and Cuba.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you normally don't see it hit that pass at that kind of angle, so definitely gives me Matthew vibes in its track. Let's just hope we don't have that with its intensity, which I don't think we're going to have it since Matthew was October, and this is late July.
Because Matthew was 3 and 4 when it was moving through Cuba, and it was 4 back over the Bahamas, and still a 4 when it approached Florida, 3 when it was passing the coast. That was a crazy storm, by the way. We're here for a full 5 days. But this is something different. Is the fact that we're still in the fairly early season, does that have an impact at all?
I think it does. I think it definitely has an impact. Because when was Dorian again? I think that was in August.
End of August.
Early September.
Yep, that was August. End of August and through the first couple weeks of September, yes.
Yeah, like this is the end of July. Like the sea temperatures, they're not the same as they would be like end of August. Like if this is the end of August, I'd be even more concerned. But because of the time of year it is right now, we can definitely see it strengthen more. But I don't think it will like hit major hurricane status or anything like that.
Probably
I
not.
wouldn't rule it out.
I mean, yeah, I wouldn't rule it out, especially if it rapidly intensifies, but yeah, I don't think so.
We're no longer talking about this enormous tropical storm that's really going to struggle to get its act together. You're looking at, when you look at that radar, that core is pretty small now.
Yeah, like maybe even a medium grade Cat 1 at this time. So I would give it maybe a 10% chance of rapidly intensifying at this time to a Category 3.
But it could be doing it right now.
Right, but unfortunately, at this point, it might be the wait and see game.
It is a bit, but hopefully Recon are going to continue going through it, I imagine, this evening. Is that right?
That would be correct. And we've just been seeing a whole lot of different recon flights, both from NOAA and the Air Force. And we're likely to continue to have a bunch of recon flights as the storm approaches land. And they're working really hard to make sure that they get the information to us that we need to stay safe. So we just gotta keep watching them. We'll definitely keep watching them. And I'm currently waiting on the next recon pass, and I'll get that to you when
we
it does
actually have
happen.
3 recon in there right now. We have NOAA 9.
Right now?
Yes, sir. We have NOAA 9 that is doing upper level drop sonde data collection. We have AF 305 that is doing low level reconnaissance. They're doing it probably, I want to say, at the 825 millibar level, maybe a little lower because they're not very high in altitude. And then we have the NOAA 3 that is probably about at the 685, 700 millibar level doing recon there. And they're looks like they're paralleling each other's flight paths. So we're going to be getting some really good data from not only the lower level, but the mid-level altitudes of this system.
It's great when they're working together like that, coordination with the recon flights.
Yeah,
exactly. It's a great. We're really fortunate in this basin to have reconnaissance flights into these storms to get accurate information, because the satellite and radar data could only tell you so much, and the recon data can give you just everything you need to know pretty much about the inner core and inner workings of a cyclone. It's unfortunate to see that other basins, West Pacific especially, don't have reconnaissance planes going in there anymore.
We did have a few other questions about Tropical Depression 10. If you're getting up to speed here, you can see it there east of the Cape Verde Islands, in between the islands and the coast of Africa. It's a rare spot for a tropical cyclone to exist. It's a tropical depression right now. And some people want to know about what our thoughts are on whether it will get named, and it would be J in the first day of August.
I don't think that it's going to be a named storm, but the NHC is forecasting it, so what do I know?
I hope it's not a named storm, because it would just be insane. The fact that we would be at J by mid-August, by the beginning of August, that would just be. Yeah, I don't recall any season that we've had a J named storm at the beginning of August.
I'm just looking at the discussion from the National Hurricane Center. They don't really supply a reason why they think it will become a tropical storm, except the fact that it's blowing up convection right now. That's about it.
Breaking news, Nathan.
Go ahead.
Excuse me. I'd like to interrupt here, but we just got the update from the National Hurricane Center. It has Isaias at 80 miles per hour and 987 millibars.
987.
Was that the news, Tim, you had?
Yes, I did, Nathan.
I'm sorry.
Not a problem. Quick recap of what they are saying. Hurricane warning is still in effect for Boca Raton to the Volusia Brevard County line in Florida, for the northwestern Bahamas, central Bahamas. They still have a hurricane watch in effect for Hallandale Beach to the south of Boca Raton. Also for the Volusia Brevard County line to the Flagler Volusia County line. Storm surge watch in effect for Jupiter Inlet to Ponte Verde Beach, Florida. tropical storm warning for north of Ocean Reef to south of Boca Raton and for Lake Okeechobee, and tropical storm watch from the Flagler of Lugia County line up to Ponte Verde Beach, Florida.
So the hurricane warning for the southeastern Bahamas has been discontinued. The tropical storm warning for the Turks and Caicos Islands has been discontinued. So no other warnings have gone into place, and Tim just read out those warnings right now. 80 miles an hour, pressure 987 millibars. That is a new peak intensity for this storm. The previous peak was 990 and 80 miles an hour. So the storm is now the strongest it's been so far. Still a Category 1 on the Sappho-Simpson scale. But as you can see on Isaac's radar imagery once again, looking to get more clarity in that eye right now.
Yeah, it just keeps getting better and better with each frame, unfortunately here. And that'll put in an interesting twist to the forecast if this keeps on going on. I think what did the National Hurricane Center have the peak as in the previous advisory? Because I know in the intermediate they don't do that, but the full advisory they do.
They went with, I think, 85 miles an hour. Yes.
I know.
They've been toning down the peak ever so slightly all day.
I think earlier this morning they had it peak they had it forecast to peak rather as a 100-mile-an-hour storm, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, so they've gone a little bit conservative here, which is it's better to be conservative than to overestimate and overhype a storm here, but it just looks more and more to me on radar and then even on satellite imagery that we're just seeing a gradually intensifying storm here over time. It's just getting better and better with each new frame.
And here we are looking at it on the infrared again. The last visibles there going away. So let's just transfer now to the enhanced, well, somewhere. Well, we were hoping to do that. Doesn't look like it's there right now. How strange. Let's go to the National Hurricane Center's latest forecast track then. Once the 8 p.m. advisory comes out, they won't be changing the forecast cone. They'll just be updating its position and obviously the warnings. So hopefully we'll be able to see that shortly.
I got the updated cone on my screen right now.
Hopefully I'll be able to just get that here. There we go. That's the intermediate advisory. So you can see down there towards the far southeast of the storm, all warnings have been lifted. And the rest of the Bahamas now still under the hurricane warning, which seems to be happening far too often these days. And the east coast of Florida, which is still on track for potentially getting a hurricane impact. However, if I'm not mistaken, looking at that latest image, the storm may have tracked slightly east of forecast.
Ooh, that's a good thing. That'd be a really good thing, actually.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I got my directions mixed up. I do that.
That's what we've got right now. So Recon are staying in the storm, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Yes, they are.
I don't know why this has stopped working right now. We'll just stick with that one for the moment. Well, let's see if anyone's got any questions then. I'm sure there's plenty. Start your message with Force 13 all in text. It will light up in orange for us. There's loads of questions. We'll do our best. Any chance of Isaias hitting not Washington. It wouldn't surprise me if someone asked about Washington. Wilmington, North Carolina, Tim, as a hurricane.
Absolutely, there is a really good chance. Most of the model tracks going over the past 2-3 advisories have had a center line going right near Wilmington up towards maybe Hampstead, Camp Lejeune, Jacksonville. So Wilmington definitely in the crosshairs. They definitely need to be keeping their eyes on this, and if watches and warnings do get extended to that area, they need to start getting their act together and getting their hurricane preparations done.
Weather Girl says center of location now has lower cloud tops of at least minus 75 Celsius. I think there's a few contradictions in that minus 75 would mean higher cloud tops.
BR Composer has asked, is it too early to tell about New England impacts from Hurricane Isaias?
Strat would go and tell you that it is, but you look at the cone there and, well, it's squarely in the cone, so I would say that something's going to happen up there.
And then that graphic that we talked about earlier, New England right now is under a low to even moderate threat level right now, so...
Yeah, I would say low to moderate threat level.
Yeah, you do need to keep a close eye on it if you are in New England. I mean, it's going to be a tropical storm or extratropical by then, but still, tropical storm force winds are possible, and heavy rainfall is also possible. So,
if you're in New England right now, check back on our stream on first thing on Sunday morning, because by that point you'll probably be in the 3-day cone.
Yeah, I was going to say that, Nathan. Usually once you get outside of day 4 and day 5 on the NHC cone, the margin of error is about 150 miles. So don't take this current cone as gospel. There is still a lot of time between now and potential New England impacts that cone could really shift either west or east. So take it with a grain of salt for right now, but keep an eye on it.
Especially if you're not even... especially on the top of that cone there, you gotta note that as well. Even if you're not per se exactly on the center line of the cone, doesn't mean you're not gonna get impacts from this hurricane here. I see a lot of people say like, well, it wasn't in the cone, so I didn't expect to get impact from this hurricane. National Hurricane Center have on the top of their graphic right there saying that impacts can be felt outside of the cone, and that is a key thing to keep in mind. So just because you're not in the center line of the cone per se, doesn't mean you need to completely rule out this hurricane and not take it as seriously.
All right, and there is also a 196 nautical mile error radius from the direct center, so that means it could shift about 250 miles either way.
Wow.
If it strengthens more than expected, will the track shift more east?
I don't know. My gut would tell me... it depends. It might not, but at the same time it might. We don't know.
Well, that's really helpful.
Especially,
it's more likely to if it gets
it would
stronger.
be more likely to, but at this point, no. For impacts are going to occur for Florida, South and North Carolina, even if it shifts slightest bit east at this point. But further on the road into New England area, it could be far enough east that not much of an impact occurs, which is why everybody needs to watch out for it.
For some reason, we're struggling with the enhanced infrared imagery right now. I'm not sure why. So we've just got the unenhanced at the moment in the background. On the right-hand side of your screen is the latest model runs. That's at 18Z, and you can see there's quite a lot of them there. And to be honest with you, you look at that right now, and there's a little bit of uncertainty at 48 hours looking at that.
Yeah, that's quite... that is quite an uncertainty. I mean, it goes from...
It's more certain on day 3 than day 2.
Interesting. I mean, it goes all the way from Tampa to the Atlantic Ocean, except for TCLP. Yep. That's don't mind that. That's the motion. Just letting everybody know in Panama City, you're fine.
Yes.
I just want to note really quick that a vortex data message has come in, and it seems that the eye wall is now closed. So that's basically a sign that heralds future intensification at this point. So
that is not a surprise, and that's pretty bad news right there.
Yeah.
I think radar shows you the best there.
It
just,
does. Look at that.
You can see it from the northern side is just really the only side hanging on there, and then near the end of that loop there, the past 1-2 hours there, bam, you see it just start to get closed there. Really pronounced, easily seen there. Clear-cut eye on radar.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I want to say by tomorrow morning, you may have an eye on satellite, at least somewhat of an eye, trying to develop.
Looking at this right now, I think it's going to happen overnight. Just my thoughts.
Yeah,
Let me see if I can stop this here on the last frame so we could see it. What I mean here. Just look at that. That's well pronounced right there. No denying that that's not an eye right there.
Absolutely.
That's really something you don't want to see. And I hope everybody's preparing for this. And I think Tim has the guide on how to prepare for systems like this, hurricanes like this. Tim, if you want to go and talk about that.
Absolutely, Isaac. After being through two hurricanes myself, Matthew and Florence, it is really essential to have your hurricane preparation kit at least in hand, even if you are going to be on the western side of this storm, which is the way the NHC track is taking this is going to be the case. And even impacts as far as where I'm at United States headquarters. I'm 80 miles away from any waterways near Wilmington, and impacts were felt up here during Matthew and Florence. So for your hurricane preparation, ideally you want enough food and supplies to go at least 1 or 2 weeks, usually 1 gallon per person per day, extra supplies, flashlight, batteries. If you have sensitive papers like insurance policies, birth certificates of that nature, you want to have those in a waterproof container. And with COVID being a prevalent threat in the United States, definitely have your face masks, sanitizers with you, and definitely keep an eye on some of the shelters. We saw during our HANA coverage that some shelters will allow people in that are infected and others will not. So you will want to keep an eye on any shelters that open as to what they're going to be able to meet for your needs in terms of the COVID situation.
More questions then. Is it a chance that it will hit Virginia?
Depends on what you mean by hit. If you mean like they'll get impacts, then yes. There's a very good chance. But like a landfall, probably not. It's gonna, if it does make landfall, it would be in the Carolinas.
Yeah, well, actually, it's the wrong angle to make a landfall in Virginia.
Well, it's the wrong angle, yes. It could go over Virginia, but not.
Actually, the NHC cone does have a landfall on that tiny little peninsula that's disconnected from the rest of Virginia.
Oh my goodness.
Yep.
The very southern tip of the Delmarva Peninsula.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. That could happen. And that would be a landfall. Will the dry air weaken the storm? It hasn't so far.
Yep, no effect whatsoever at all on it.
What are the chances of rapid intensification now? Is anyone getting convinced here that this thing could be rapidly intensifying at the moment?
Honestly, I think I'm giving it now. I mean, based on how quickly that eye wall closed over the past hour, say there's quite a higher chance than 10%, like I said earlier, of rapid intensification. Maybe 20 or 30 at this point.
It's always a possibility, but I'm not convinced yet. I'll have to wait until see the pressure dropping quite radically.
That's the other Ryan, by the way. Good evening to you.
Good evening.
And we're continuing to watch that eye form itself right now. 80 miles an hour, Ryan. Does that sound like the right call?
Higher. I don't know. It's a 90. It looks like a 90 mile an hour.
You think it should be higher?
Yeah.
That's
With
interesting.
the fact that the eye wall is closed pretty much now, I think it should be 90.
Wow.
It's a Cat 190, I think.
Interesting. More questions, and please do keep sending them in because, it might not only be useful for you to hear the answer, but maybe other people as well. But first of all, go ahead.
Vortex data message says now that the closed eye is 13 nautical miles or 15 statute miles across. So what are the thoughts of the size of the eye and what it means for the storm's future?
I missed the end part there. What was that?
What are the thoughts? What are our thoughts on what the size of the eye means for the storm's future?
Well, it's 15 nautical miles then, or 15 statute miles. They are slightly different, by the way. 15 statute miles would be about 13 nautical miles. and that's somewhat small. The normal eye is something like 20-25 miles at least. So it is smaller, and that, I would imagine, increases those chances yet again, provided that it's closed, of more rapid intensification.
And it did say it is indeed closed.
With
now.
warmer waters coming up, I just think
Yeah.
it could happen, but well, we'll have to see whether it maintains itself for a while. It's a bit early to make that cry just yet, because you know, it's only just happened, and that could be temporary for all we know.
No, okay. You go.
I was just gonna clear this up quickly. I have seen this question come up many times. Will Isaias be officially retired? We don't know that until, you know, March or April.
Come on, don't ask
the fact
questions
that-
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Too early.
And I just want to point out that now I was around for Dorian coverage as well, and I do remember that at that time we were also unsure about if it would go under rapid intensification, and look at what happened. So you never know with these storms what they will end up doing.
Well, it wasn't that rapid an intensification. It was fairly, but it was steady all the way. It just didn't stop.
Yeah. Just the right conditions.
More questions then. Could Isaias pull a Dorian and start stalling?
No, I don't think it will.
No.
That's a pretty resounding no there. In your opinion, what is the percentage chance that it might do an Irma track?
Well,
in
it's
brackets,
not
go into
doing-
Florida, then north into Georgia. That's how they
Oh,
compare it to Irma. Even though, what just happened to that? The floater's moved. The floater's moved north just there. That's wonderful.
Fantastic.
That's probably not going to happen anyways. It's probably going to go up the East Coast. So.
Yeah.
Though landfall is still not out of the question. In
Yeah.
Florida.
Is Washington D.C. getting more likely to have some chance of tropical storm force winds, and will it be the first time since Sandy of 2012?
Was that the last time that they got tropical storm force winds?
They're asking us. I don't know.
Well, never say never.
Did they get tropical storm force winds from Dorian?
No.
I doubt it.
Yeah,
no, I don't
they
think it
probably
did.
didn't. No.
It was
I'll
to the east.
check on that.
I don't know when the last time they would have gotten tropical storm force winds.
Will they put watches for Central Florida? Well, they have in part, haven't they? Have they?
I can confirm that it's mostly central eastern Florida,
Of
not really
course.
central west. But yeah, they have in central eastern Florida.
Okay, plenty more questions here. What are the chances that Isaias becomes the first major hurricane of the season? Increasing is the short answer.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it, but if it just keeps on improving and improving with each new radar frame, and then even probably starting on satellite now, I don't see a reason why it can't, unless dry air starts to get in it.
Now, do you think the storm will grow as it approaches New England and increasing the rain impacts?
Grow, definitely, because extratropical transition does tend to make a storm larger in terms of wind radius. In terms of rain impacts, convection will wane while extratropical transition does occur. So
It's a trade-off, really. The storm increases in size, and the wind field increases in size, but the rain and wind tends to be less severe.
True.
And you can sort of see that on this illustration here. You can see at the moment you've got a few reds there near the center of the storm over the Bahamas. That's 10 to 15 inches. Then it's to the oranges, then it's to the yellows, then to the dark green, which really expands as the storm heads into North Carolina and Virginia. And then beyond there, it starts to peter out a little bit into New England, but you're still looking at over 2 inches for many locations there. The whole of Connecticut over 2 inches. New York, much of the southern half of the state, almost all of Massachusetts 2+ inches if this verifies, and parts of New Jersey above 4. So something to watch out for. I think it's hard to avoid at this early stage still that this storm will be a rainmaker in all of those locations. Certainly near the coast.
Somebody asks, what is the CDPS for Isaias?
That's a good question. I haven't actually checked recently, but I would imagine, given the current state of play, that it is probably a stage, maybe a stage 4 by now.
It is, Nathan.
It is?
Devin ran the numbers about an hour and a half before we went live. Through the Bahamas and Eastern Florida is stage 4. Once you get up to the Carolinas right now with the current numbers, it would be a stage 2. It is interesting that the numbers that Devin ran, that we would not get even close to a stage 6 on the CDPS unless this made a run to category 4. So that gives a bit of perspective of just what kind of potential Isaias has. And
yeah, it's mainly because we're not expecting extremely massive, outrageous rain amounts, because it's moving faster. With Dorian, we were looking at how much rain was it? Was it something like 18 inches, or I can't remember now.
It was I believe it was 27.
27 inches, and this time, it's moving much, much quicker, so 8+ is the number we're looking at. And that can make a big difference. But obviously Dorian was an extreme case. This could still have damaging impacts.
Oh, absolutely. Just because we're saying it's a stage 4, don't underestimate it. Florence, when it came through the North Carolina, was a stage 5.
2 and above, Tim. 2 and above can have damaging impacts.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Even a 1.
Even some ones.
Any hurricane. It's hurricane force winds. It's hurricane force winds.
Caitlin asks, does Isaias have a good chance to rapidly intensify when it gets into the warm Gulf waters? The Gulf Stream, I assume you mean. And I would personally say yes.
Yes.
I would have to agree with that.
Yeah.
If it doesn't make landfall in Florida, and if it gets to them waters off the South and North Carolina, which is ridiculously hot, as hot as the ones in the Gulf Stream of South Florida, if not hotter in a few patches, then certainly so. And also the conditions in that area will be more favorable, less shear.
Exactly. I mean, I think the only inhibitors at this point in time is if it makes landfall on Andros Island, or if that dry air gets entrained into the system, really.
Now,
I think are the main inhibitors.
A big topic in our previous streams was the wind shear. Where's that gone?
I think
I think it's still there.
Yeah, but it's not really affecting the system that much, it seems. But just looking at the radar, it's not affecting it really much at all. I know Sims isn't really the best graphic to use in terms of getting wind shear data, but I believe, as with the last update, it estimated that there was, I think, 30 knots of wind shear over the storm.
30 knots?
30 knots, yes.
That's a significant number. I'm just trying to get
handling it really well, though. I think that.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I'm just saying that I'm trying to get some new satellite imagery up, that's all. So do bear with me on that. There's a National Hurricane Center cone to look at whilst we wait.
Oh yeah, I just looked at the new update off Sims, and yeah, it's roughly in an area of about 20-30 knots of wind shear. But this is not the most reliable graphic to use, because of course we had Matthew. When Matthew was becoming a Category 5, Sims estimated there was like 35 knots of shear over the storm, and now it's a Cat 5, and now it's happened. So it's not something to take extremely seriously, that graphic, but just interesting to note.
So we've got it now. There it is on the screen. You can see once again that significant burst of convection, which is housing the eye, which is becoming very apparent on the radar imagery. Are Recon going in for more rounds right now? Any more news?
Recon seems to be doing a pass on the outer periphery to the east of the storm, and they're still finding some pretty significant gale force winds. I saw an SFMR of like 60 knots there, 50 knots there earlier, from the Air Force flight, I believe.
And NOAA 3 has actually just made a loop around. They're going to be coming from southeast to northwest, so they may be making another pass through the eye. AF 305 just finished a pass through. That's where we got the 988 center fix. They are actually heading towards the northeastern side of the storm. And NOAA 9 is, I believe they may have finished up their upper level mission. Still shows it's in progress, so they may be making one more pass before they finish up on that mission.
Yep, 3 reconnaissance planes there. We got a upper, lower, and then another upper air that's just focused on sampling the environment around the storm to better help the models think where the storm is going to go over the next coming hours and days here. So we're really fortunate to have these reconnaissance planes doing their hard work right now.
Absolutely. Anything else that anyone would like to bring up right now whilst I'm working with some satellites here?
Well, just I mean, I know I sound like a broken record at this point, but I mean, the eye just keeps getting better and better on radar here. It's still pronounced on the latest frame that came on in from the Bahamas. I believe the Bahamas radar updates roughly every 10 minutes, give or take. So it's still there, quite pronounced on radar.
Yeah. Somebody asks, is the chunk behind the center of rotation a part of it, or is a separate part?
I'm assuming they're talking about that big burst of convection to the east of the center.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a pretty strong outer band there looking at radar. I think somebody else was talking. Go ahead. I guess not.
I'm just looking at the satellite imagery here, and let me just see if we can flick over now. Oh, we can't yet. Okay. But looking at that particular imagery, at least on our screen, you can see how the, I believe, looking at that imagery just now, that the center of circulation, and we can probably compare it with the radar, the center of circulation is just on the eastern side of that big blow-up of convection. By the looks of things. Let's look at that radar again that you're showing, Isaac. It's, I don't know, actually. It looks like it is directly under, but it looks to me as though the spin is centered much closer to, that is Great Exuma up there, isn't it?
Yeah, this little text right here is Exuma, and it's pretty much due south of there right now.
It looks like it's closer to Exuma than the radar's showing, honestly.
There's the latest frame right there on radar, Exuma.
But the radar is the one that's more correct in pretty much all cases. They must be getting some pretty nasty weather there right now.
Yeah, the radar site in Long Island is getting some pretty nasty squally weather associated with Hurricane Isaias. I can't spell it. I can't spell it right again. Oh my goodness! This hurricane.
Yeah,
I was saying it correctly earlier, and now my brain's losing its train of thought now.
Yeah, I do want to say though, I do want to try and explain why the convection blow up looks like, a whole separate, almost like some people in the chat are thinking it's a whole separate storm or whatever. But the reason why it's like that is because, just a whole bunch of storms there concentrated in one area. So you have a whole bunch of convection fire up with low clouds that shoot up into the atmosphere, and they all kind of combine together at the bottom, at the top of the troposphere with some cirrus clouds, so that's why it's such a big convection blow up looking, it looks like, but it's not the same looking on radar. Yeah.
Let's see what else we've got. Will this hit New Jersey?
I mean, it's not never say never.
Yeah.
Well,
I think the nearest cone has a skirt New Jersey.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
The 5-day track kind of shows in that region.
Day 4 on the
looks
cone.
like looks like it might just barely make a little bit of a landfall there. Actually,
I want to see the interactive. I'm gonna look at the interactive cone.
The Carolina coast.
It's. I'm sorry.
Okay. If it skirts the Carolina coast, doesn't make landfall. The 26-degree water goes all the way up to Long Island.
Wow. For this time of year, that's real impressive.
I just want to also note that Recon has found hurricane force flight level winds pretty far to the east of the center, and I believe that would be the Air Force flight. So that's pretty concerning, honestly. Because if those flight level winds do end up mixing down to the center, SFMRs are pretty mediocre, actually. They're mainly around 40 knots, but there are hurricane force flight level winds, and that's kind of concerning because if those do end up mixing down the center, we could see a larger wind field.
If anyone has water vapor imagery of the storm, we're getting a few requests for that.
I do right here.
And Sean Haynes wants to know if I ever prepared for a named European windstorm here in England. No. we don't do that kind of thing here, because, well, not at this location. They're usually pretty meager.
I do want to go back to that recon data for a second.
Yes.
About flight level hurricane force winds. I am looking at it here. It does appear that it might be just inside of, or actually just outside of a convective band. So I don't know if it would really be mixing down to the surface as of now. It doesn't look like there's too much deep convection over where the hurricane force winds are, flight levels. So.
Well, here's the water vapor imagery now. Isaac, it looks like a very dry environment round here, but is this the lower level water vapor?
Well, this is band 9, so I believe this is kind of mid-level, so it exaggerates the dry air here, so the dry air is a lot more pronounced than it actually would be here. And this is CONUS imagery as well. This updates roughly every 5 minutes, give or take, off of GOES 16.
All right, that's very cool.
Let me just double check what band 9 is. That is the mid-level, so that should be pretty true, but it doesn't look like. It doesn't look the same on NOAA's imagery. It looks a bit more like band 10, which is lower level, so it is a bit exaggerated on that imagery.
Yeah, I don't know why it's like that, but you can see, of course, it's not affecting the storm whatsoever at this point in time.
No.
Go ahead, Uxinator.
Yeah. So what I had there's no accepting that one of our global moderators said. The meteorological community on Twitter has been remarking on how Isaias' convection and outflow is moving up shear. Is this happening because shear is weaker than anticipated, or is Isaias' shear so strong that it is locally overpowering the shear?
There was question marks about whether that was happening earlier or not. I'm honestly not sure at this stage. It looks like, if you look closely there towards the south and the western sides, what you look for when you look for signs that there is high wind shear is a very steep threshold from the high cloud tops to the low ones, or no cloud tops at all, and you can see a little bit on the southern side there, but it's not affecting the cloud tops themselves. And you know, that is the thing here. Maybe the cloud tops are a little bit displaced to the north there because of the wind shear, which I think it is, because if you were looking at this rotation here, which is the mid and high levels, it would depict that the storm is further north than it actually is on the radar.
Well, Nathan, we do have some interesting data coming in. I've been trying to find a few weather stations in and around the Bahamas area. Exuma International Airport on the island of Exuma reporting 54-mile-an-hour winds with gusts of 75 right now.
Wow.
And how far would this be from the center, Tim?
This is right on
not far.
Exuma Island in Bahamas, so it's probably right on the northern edge of the convection that we're seeing on the satellite loop.
Rachel Williams tuning in from Orlando. Thanks very much for your support. We'll be tuning in. And, you know, we are here to serve as always, as we've been doing for years on end now. We've been doing live streaming for... This is our fifth... Is it our fifth or our sixth? Our 6th year of live streaming storm events, and our 9th year of storm updates. And... you know, we're here as always to take your questions. Okay, that's an interesting comment. And people sending in their predictions. I mean, I'm not sure that's the best thing to do. We probably won't read them out. The National Hurricane Center are putting out the best predictions at the moment, and their next update will be at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. I highly imagine that we'll be off the air by then. But keep sending in your questions. Start your message with Force 13 all in text. We'll probably be here for the rest of this hour before finishing up and reverting back to our automated feed, which you can watch at all times, even now whilst we're live, by going to youtube.com/Force13/live. In the meantime, let's see if there's any more questions. A few thank yous, which is lovely. More questions about Virginia, really.
Oh, somebody's asking though, where do we get our recon data?
Various sources.
Yeah,
Tropical Tidbits is
Tropical
Tidbits is pretty much the go-to for any basic recon information. Just go to Tropical Tidbits. There's going to be the current storms icon. Go to the right of that, and it'll take you straight to the reconnaissance information off of Tropical Tidbits, and you can get the latest recon data that the National Hurricane Center is providing to Tropical Tidbits.
Yeah, I use Tropical Tidbits as well. I mean, it's probably the greatest source for recon information.
Mm-hmm.
Posted it in chat if you want to check it out. It's there.
And Elliot, speaking of recon, do we have any updates on the reconnaissance plane there?
We do.
NOAA 3 plane actually looks like the pressure readings have flattened out at 1,004.6 millibars, so I'm not sure if something's up with their pressure readings or not. Yeah, over the past 10 minutes, it's just been 1,004.6.
They did have a pass at 985.5. Looks like they were going southeast to northwest, but they have made a quick change to due west. So I don't know if
that instrument's broken, man. That instrument's broken. 1,004.6 ever since it made that westward turn. There's no chance.
Yeah.
Where's the exact center? Because this is at 22.9 degrees. Well, yeah, 22.9 degrees north, 75.9 degrees west.
The 985.5 reading, Isaac. Let me find it again because I had just closed it out.
I'm talking about this NOAA plane, this NOAA 3 plane pass.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking up. Actually, I got 985.1. Double checking this data right quick. 985.9 was at 22 degrees 52 minutes north, 75 degrees 45 minutes west. So 22.85 north, 75.75 west.
Yeah, I think something may be going on with the reconnaissance plane there. Luckily, we have another reconnaissance plane, an Air Force reconnaissance plane that's also sampling the storm. So whenever that decides to make a center pass, we'll probably get some more. We'll probably get better, accurate data from that plane.
Yeah, it's a little out of position though, Isaac. The other plane you're referring to is the AF-305. They are actually moving northward over the Bahamas, so they may be coming back around for a northeast to southwest pass here in a few minutes.
Interesting.
Yeah, that NOAA plane was the one that had that sensor. I guess those barometer problems with the plane. I don't know what's going on with there. Maybe this might be altitude stuff going on with there. But that lower, the Air Force reconnaissance plane, 305, still sampling the outer edges of the storm, and it's probably gonna take again like you guys were mentioning, probably take that jog farther back to the southwest to get another center pass here soon.
So we will keep you posted on that when it comes in.
More questions then at this point. Chances of impacts to Tampa Bay. Euro currently has the storm going closer towards their area.
So I am from Tampa Bay myself, and I would say the chances of impacts to Tampa Bay, I would say maybe tropical storm force winds and maybe some rain. That's about it.
Sounds about right.
And another similar question, really. Do we think that this storm will move more to the west? I'm not seeing it at the moment.
We don't know for certain, but it's always possible.
Follow the cone.
Yeah. For Florida landfall, I still feels like maybe 45%.
All right, Nathan, a little bit of a update on 305. It has started to make that northeast to southwest move, so we'll have a new pass by the center in a few minutes. The NOAA 3, from what I could tell from their drops-on data, looked like they made a couple little U-turns on their southwest and northeast pass, and that's where they may have had the instrumentation issues. It looks like they're getting ready to exit the storm, possibly, due to that instrumentation issue.
And here we are looking at the radar imagery once again, and Isaac, getting clearer, is it? Or I'm not seeing, well, it's been around steady.
Pretty much. It's earlier on the latest frame, the southern part was a little bit more defined, but I think it's just trying to get attack together here. It's in the process of doing that. So you're probably going to see some kind of fluctuations in the radar here a little bit as it's trying to get attacked together, but clearly, on the last frame there, you could see that well-pronounced eye due south of the island of Exuma in the Bahamas there. Is there any new information off that island, by the way, Tim?
No, Isaac. The last time I looked at the data there, actually, no, there is an update. Winds are now 50. Winds are now 55, gusting to 76. So we do have hurricane gusts now on Exuma.
Wow. And that's how many miles away from the center? I don't know how many.
I'd probably say less than 50 miles just from my estimate. Let me see if I can get the coordinates for where Exuma International is. Actually, I got it. 23.72 north, 76.08 west. So if you compare that to the NHC numbers, it's not very far away.
Yeah. And that this is just a reminder that even if you're not, it doesn't matter if you're in the eye wall or the eye itself of the storm, impacts are far-reaching with this particular storm. Not as far as, of course, earlier when it was still in its development stages, but still a storm to take seriously here, regardless of its intensity at this point.
Now again, we've got a few people talking about Tropical Depression 10, and if you're unaware of that one, it did indeed form in the far eastern Atlantic. You can see it on near the edge of your screen there, east of the Cape Verde Islands and just off the western coast of Africa, moving slightly north. National Hurricane Center think there's a chance it could become a very brief named storm. Indeed, they're forecasting it. Do we actually agree with that?
I mean, they can do if they want to, but I wouldn't name it.
Well,
I will say go ahead, Elliot.
Well, it really depends on what ASCAT finds with this, because they're really not going to have any recon out there, of course.
No.
And satellite estimates are really going to be the only way to ascertain this thing's intensity. So, depending on the next ASCAT scans, it will really come down to that, if it's going to be named or not.
Yeah, I know about 24 hours ago it looked pretty good on ASCAT, and some people were questioning whether the National Hurricane Center would designate it or not. Well, it's of course finally designated now as a tropical depression, and it's going to be running at a time here. It's going to be heading into cooler waters as it progresses over pretty much what is it? I think it's moving due north or maybe northwest. I'm not too familiar with the
I
latest
think
on
it's
that
currently
storm.
north, and it will turn west soon.
Yeah, it's going to be into cooler waters pretty shortly here, so it's running out of time if it's going to get going.
And I got that answer for you, Isaac. Exuma is 50 nautical miles away from the center of Isaias based on the last NHC coordinates that were released on the 8 p.m. intermediate advisory.
Interesting. And that just further stresses, like, again, if you're not, it doesn't matter if you're in the exact center of the eyewall of the storm impacts are going to be kind of far-reaching with this storm in particular. Again, not as far-reaching as it was earlier, because I believe earlier when it was still over Hispaniola or around Hispaniola, the tropical storm force wind radius was, I think, up to 255 miles away from the center, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, and it looks like we may have ASCAT data for. Actually, sorry to interrupt, but we may have ASCAT data for 10L, and it looks like Mediop B shows that there may be a single 35 knot bar, but it's hard to tell from here. Somebody was at least saying that in the Force 13 Discord server, but
can we show it at all?
I will try to get that image for you.
Please do. In the meantime, you're looking at the wide shot showing 3 areas. Of course, you've got Hurricane Isaias, which is continuing to trek towards the northwest. Its influence will be felt in southeastern Florida by tomorrow. And then you've got the very small area of interest in the central Atlantic there, which could become a tropical storm in about 2 or 3 days' time. And that will be the J name if the one on the right-hand side decides it doesn't want to form. And if it does, then you'll get J and K in the first days of August, which is absolutely nuts. The record active 2005 hurricane season, you know what the K name was. That formed on August 23rd, so that's how far ahead we would be if both of these systems decided to form.
I just want to show a little bit more footage. This is from the Turks and Caicos Islands. This is what it is. So it looks like there has been a little bit of storm surge here. Let me get that. But this is what it looks like, or looked like a bit ago in Turks and Caicos.
So, just looking for the wind there, doesn't look hugely gusty at that moment, but that looks like it's the tail end of the storm there.
Yeah, it does indeed. Like I said, this wasn't from too long ago. They don't have a tropical storm warning or anything like that anymore, so.
But still flooding in the area, and it does look like this storm has produced a lot of flooding in a lot of these islands, so that's a warning shot for Florida, I would imagine, considering how low-lying the East Coast is, particularly the very built-up areas. Let's see if we've got any more questions then. Some interesting speculation there about what letter we'll get up to by the end of August. Let's not, shall we? What's the chance of this becoming a Category 2 hurricane then? You know, it's a significant chance.
I would give it about, I mean, the NHC only forecasts about, I think it's 85 or 90 mile an hour
they're
storm.
now only forecasting 85 miles an hour. That's from the 5 p.m. update. So the next forecast will be the proper forecast will be at 11 p.m. And I imagine that's going to change the intensity forecast on that to at least 90 miles per hour.
Yeah, I think it's got like maybe a 60 or 70% chance of becoming a Category 2 hurricane at this time. I mean, that eye closed pretty quickly if you look at it on radar. I mean, that is concerning to me, honestly. So, we'll see.
Let's see what else we have. Interesting to note, by the way, Isaac, that second big flare-up, the one that people have been talking about east of the storm, started with us really, but it's not really notable on radar, is it?
Actually, it's a little noticeable on radar. You could see the strong outer bands there. I believe it's far out on at the outer range of this radar site in Long Island, Bahamas, not New York, Bahamas. I believe it's right about where my cursor is, right there in those latest frames, that big burst of convection. So definitely pumping out some decent rainfall totals. I don't know the exact DPZ or rain estimates off radar per se, but it looks quite serious there, to say the least.
Some comments there such as, I no longer trust the intensity forecast. That might be a valid thing, to be honest.
Yeah, this storm has been
just take a look at what's in front of you right now, and what I see right now is an intensifying Category 1 hurricane, which could get to Category 2 tomorrow, honestly.
Easily. If it keeps up its current pace right now and doesn't weaken, I could definitely see that. I mean, this storm, to go back when it was back in over Hispaniola, it's been quite the tricky storm in the forecast here. It's given us forecasters, well, especially the forecasters at the National Hurricane Center, headaches here, I bet, due to just how the storm's been. And now it's finally developed now, and it appears to be wanting to get going here and be a significant storm, more significant storm than it is right now.
Ethan has just verified that pass has a 35-knot barb on Tropical Depression 10. So if that's the case, and the National Hurricane Center deem it to be accurate, you could be looking at that area of interest, that tropical depression, in the far east there off the coast of Africa, being our next named storm at 11 p.m. Eastern time.
And that next name would be Josephine.
And whether it gets upgraded, I know that it's only one 35-knot barb, but it's a kind of a small system, and ASCAT does tend to undersample with small systems. So honestly, I do think that it's possible that they could pull the trigger on this.
They could.
I think so, because I believe I think it was Tropical Storm Tina in 2016. I think there was like one tropical storm force barb on ASCAT, but
one barb out of
1,000. And then they decided to pull the trigger and name it. Now I don't know if that was the sole reason why, or they saw something else we didn't, and that caused them to upgrade it. But definitely possible, I would say, in the next update, going off that.
Alright, we are here for another 20 minutes before we finish up tonight. I can already tell you when our future live streams will be, or at least one of them. We'll be live again tomorrow at the same time as we were earlier today. So that's 11 a.m. Eastern Time. We will be live again, and we'll be discussing the latest advisory from the National Hurricane Center, which comes out that hour, and also wherever we're up to with this storm. So make sure you stay tuned on that one. And of course we have our 24-hour live stream in the meantime, the automated feed, youtube.com/force13/live. Send in your questions though. Start your message with Force 13 all in text. We'll see if we can answer your questions. I know we've missed a lot because there's been so many comments that have come in, and it's a remarkable amount. Go ahead.
So I just want to pull up on image really quick that Kay, one of our moderators, wanted to be shown on stream. I'll be sharing my screen very shortly, but this is concerning imagery right here. This was from a bit ago. It looks like there's yellow surrounding where the eye was previously
microwave.
Open. Yes. I believe it is microwave.
It definitely is. So this is from about an hour ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do we make of that?
So you can see, honestly,
well, it appears to be, sorry to interrupt, but it appears to be a developing eye there, just looking at microwave. Of course, it's off-center, and it's not of the entire storm, but evidence is there to support that. I mean, it looks pretty like a clear-cut eye.
I agree.
So
even microwave is showing that.
Any more clues on the infrared imagery right now? What are we looking at here? This is the very latest. Nope, just that another little burst of convection is starting up now, and it's literally right on top, nearly on top of Exuma there. Any storm surge in Virginia? Virgin? Is that the Virgin Islands? Virginia. Oh no, you corrected it.
Yeah,
Virginia.
Virginia.
Oh, Kay also shared another image. But this eyewall is starting to look scary.
Regarding Virginia, you're probably talking about at the moment anywhere from 3 to 6 feet, maybe.
Anyways, I just opened up another. The eyewall started to look scary, like I mentioned before.
So there's another look at the eye wall on the microwave imagery projection there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that shows a clear eye right there, and the storm is a little bit. How big is it? Did any of you guys know how big the storm is in terms of its tropical storm force radius? I believe it's a little bit smaller than it was when it was going over Hispaniola.
It is. I'm not exactly sure what the numbers are now, but
175 miles from the center and 35 for hurricane force.
So getting a smaller storm. So keep in mind, the smaller the storm is, the faster it could intensify. But of course, the faster it could also weaken too. They're prone to fluctuations. We saw that with tropical storm Gonzalo.
It's
storms
a bit
like this
bigger
are prone
than
to do that.
Gonzalo.
Yeah.
Let's get this right. It's a bit bigger than Gonzalo.
Yeah, Gonzalo was only like 20 miles wide, so that would make it one of the smallest storms in Atlantic history.
I'm sorry. I think I was having a brain fart there. I'm sorry, but regardless, still a storm to take seriously here. Just looking alone at the microwave and radar presentation, just still getting better and better. I would hate to see when I wake up tomorrow morning to see what the storm looks like.
Same here.
Another little update.
I was just about to ask.
Yeah. Observations as of 2 minutes ago. Winds are east-northeast at 56, gusting to 78. Pressure there is 1,007 millibars, and the visibility has been fluctuating between a half mile and 2 miles. All this information coming from the Exuma International Airport weather station.
Any more recon news they're about to go through?
Last recon has them getting ready to hit the center again, so this will probably be the last pass that we'll get before we go off the air.
Yep.
Yeah, they'll be in the northeastern side of it as well, so they should be getting the strongest of the storm anyway.
So hopefully we get some good data on that.
Mm-hmm.
In the meantime, we're just waiting for that, so let's run through the warnings again. Does anyone want to do that? Oh, they don't.
I will.
Really?
Yes,
Well,
I'll do it.
The government of the Bahamas discontinued the hurricane warning for the southeastern Bahamas and discontinued the tropical storm warning for the Turks and Caicos Islands. So what do we have now in effect?
We have a hurricane warning from Boca Raton to the Volusia Brevard County line in Florida, as well as the northwestern and central Bahamas. There's also a hurricane watch in effect for Hallandale Beach to the south of Boca Raton, Florida, to Volusia Brevard County line to the Flagler Volusia County line as well. There's also storm surge watches from Jupiter Inlet to Point Verde Beach, Florida. A tropical storm warning is in effect for north of Ocean Reef to south of Boca Raton, Florida, and Lake Okeechobee. And a tropical storm watch is in effect for Flagler Volusia County line to Point Verde Beach, Florida.
So the storm surge watch is in effect for parts of the coastline, and this is the expected heights above ground somewhere in the areas if the peak surge occurs at the time of high tide. So your absolute maximums. Jupiter Inlet to Ponte Vedra Beach, 2 to 4 feet. North Miami Beach to Jupiter Inlet, 1 to 3 feet. A dangerous storm surge will raise water levels by as much as 3 to 5 feet above normal tide levels in the Bahamas. As for rainfall, the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos 4 to 8 inches, Cuba 1 to 2 with isolated maximums of 4, and from Friday night through Tuesday, South Florida into East Central Florida 2 to 4 inches with isolated maximums of 6. Northeast Florida into coastal Georgia 1 to 2 inches, and the Carolinas into the mid-Atlantic, including the southern and central Appalachians 2 to 4 inches, with isolated maximum totals of 6. Does that sound about right with you, Tim?
Yeah, that does. The big concern is with Isaias' approach to the coastline during the tidal cycle. So some of those storm surges could be another 1 to 3 feet higher depending on impacts and when high tide is.
What effects do we think Atlantic Canada will feel from the storm? Asking from New Brunswick.
Honestly, I don't really see Isaias really doing much in Atlantic Canada. Maybe as an extratropical cyclone, it could bring some gusty winds and spotty rainfall, but I really don't think that you'll get the worst of it.
That's what I would say, because from what the tracks look like, it looks like there will be like, it'll probably be extratropical by then, and if it is, it would like literally, it'd probably make landfall there in Nova Scotia.
Maybe an inch of rain and tropical storm force winds on Nova Scotia, and maybe into parts of New Brunswick there as well. We'll see. That could change. Certainly, if it goes onto the western side of the cone there, that means it's moving inland a lot. So it probably wouldn't even make it to Canada if it followed the left-hand side of the cone. And let's just get another graphic. This is the wind field of the storm in a visual projection, which might be of interest to some people as well. You can just compare the size of the storm's wind field, which is marked in orange there, and the hurricane wind field, which is the sort of dark maroon color very near the center, not a very large area at all. And you can see what areas will start to get affected by the tropical storm force winds. Quite a large part of the eastern coast of Florida there, if it continues to move towards the northwest. And as it happens right now, with the center going so close to the coast on the forecast, then hurricane conditions certainly can't be ruled out along the coast.
And that's why there's a hurricane warning in effect. And I just want to make sure everyone knows this. A hurricane warning is not in case there's hurricane force winds. No, it means that hurricane force winds are expected and that you need to prepare for winds of that magnitude.
Would the storm turn into a depression or become extratropical before getting close to New York? It would have to go well inland, in North Carolina maybe, if it was going to be a depression by the time it reached New York. When will there be a cone update? If you're talking about the National Hurricane Center's cone, well, that's going to be at 11 p.m. Eastern Time when they come out with the next full advisory. We'll be off the air by then. That will be just over 2 hours from now. And what are the impacts in New Jersey? Well, you can see there the National Hurricane Center have placed an S very close to you. So there could be tropical storm conditions, could be a moderate to strong tropical storm, rather broad, rainfall amounts 4 inches potentially by that point. Is there a possibility of the storm hitting New York City so I can be prepared because my house can get flooded by a thunderstorm? Well, that's not a good sign, and there could be significant rainfall in that area. Again, talking about New York, you're looking at maybe 3 inches of rainfall there, getting towards isolated maximums of 4. More questions that are just flooding in here about Gainesville, Florida potential impact.
Also, because I do also happen to, because I'm a part-time, because I go to UF as well. Gainesville, I don't know. I don't think it'll be as affected, even as affected as Tampa, really.
Probably not.
Yeah, no. Gainesville, I think, is like they'll see rain, I'm sure, and possibly tropical storm force winds too, but that's about it.
Kenny Thompson has a report from Nassau in the Bahamas, says that they've been having very strong tropical winds. And if you are in any of the areas and it's safe to do so, please send us a message and let us know of your current conditions so we can report it to the world. What are the chances of a Category 5 hurricane going over my house? That's a great question. That's going to be in the order of 0.00000 something percent. You can never say never in the world of tropics, though.
Yeah.
Just seeing if there's anything more just here. If the eye wall is currently forming, how long until we have a developed iron eye wall? Well, it looks like it has happened at this point. Isaac, you're saying it's developed fully?
I mean, Recon confirmed it. Radar has pretty much confirmed it. Microwave has pretty much confirmed it. All that's left is pretty much a satellite.
So how long did it take for it to start the eye wall compared to finishing?
Well, this loop that I'm showing you right now is a 10-hour loop, so minus whatever time it is now by 10 hours, and that's pretty much how long it took for this storm to really get its act together here since this morning. And also going back to that viewer earlier from Nassau, I don't know if you'll be able to see it. It might be cut off, but on the very top of your screen is Nassau.
Yep.
And they've been getting some pretty nasty rain bands from this storm, and I believe they're actually in one right now, if I'm not mistaken, by the looks of it on radar. And again, this radar updates roughly every 15 minutes or so. So, yep, Nathan?
There's been a little trail of rain moving over there in the latest images on that radar loop.
Nathan?
Go ahead.
Yes, we have a question coming off of our Facebook live feed who has been manned by our 413 David's Tones.
I forgot to plug that one again. Sorry, David.
Yeah, we got it. Gentleman by Randy Banker asking, greetings 413, could we see Category 2 by the time it gets close to the East Coast?
Well,
what it rule it out.
Where on the East Coast, though? If you're saying Florida, then yes. I mean, really, if you're saying south of North Carolina, you could say yes. You know, that could
Definitely
be a Category 2
impact.
This.
Yeah.
It's, you know, that kind of thing's happened earlier in the season before. Just look at Arthur in 2014. Let's see, we just missed another question there. A question about what's the highest winds Grand Bahama will get. Currently very quiet. I think Grand Bahama will start to get some rain in the late hours of tonight, early hours of the morning. But the highest winds, well, at the moment, it's fairly uncertain. But I would say that tropical storm conditions are pretty likely for you. Hurricane conditions are possible. Certainly watch closely. You know, I think that could happen. Let's see. Odds of it going straight up the Chesapeake. Not that likely.
Yeah, I don't really think it has much of a chance to do that. But like we said earlier, I mean, right now they're forecasting it to go into that peninsula of Virginia.
Is the hurricane going to cover the whole peninsula of Virginia? Is another intriguing question that we've received.
Yeah. I mean, it just depends on how it tracks. I mean, if it gets stronger tonight and it happens to track a little bit more to the east, there's an opportunity for it to really not, maybe only just a brush in that area. But then if it tracks right over it, I mean, the whole storm will likely cover that little peninsula of Virginia.
Chances of it hitting Miami? Well, let me tell you the wind probabilities. I'll go through a few locations, pretty much the last thing we're doing here now. A few locations for the wind potential. For tropical storm force winds, Tampa 13%, Venice 12%, Fort Myers 13%, Naples 16%, Key West 8%, Marathon 11%, Homestead 28%, Miami 39% chance of tropical storm force winds, and then the percentages go way up. Fort Lauderdale 70%, West Palm Beach 77%, Fort Pierce 72%, Patrick Air Force Base 59%, Cocoa Beach 59%, Orlando at 32%, so pretty much a 1 in 3 chance. Daytona Beach is that much, 33%. Jacksonville 14%, Gainesville 9%. And then you're going up into Georgia by that point. Let's just take a few highlights here. Georgia chances not so high, around 25% at most. Savannah's at 13%. Charleston, South Carolina 31%. Georgetown 26%. Myrtle Beach 36%. Little River 36%. Bald Head Island 36% as well. Wilmington, North Carolina 30%. Surf City 34%. What do you make of those numbers, Tim?
Those are right on par, and depending on how close Isaias gets to the coast, we'll probably see those percentages for Surf City and Wilmington get much higher.
Well, at this point, we're just about finishing up here. Any final comments from the team?
I believe Elliot has a new Recon update. I think Recon just updated. Elliot, do you have any new information coming in?
Yeah. I'm seeing some 75 knot barbs on the latest thing, and they're not even at the center yet.
Holy.
That's for flight level.
Actually, wait until they get to the center and it's all passed before ending.
Oh. The ending music's already playing.
Whoop-de-doopsie.
Kicking us out already.
I'm kicking you out.
Yeah,
There'll be
one
plenty of.
last-
I think someone might be doing an update on the channel at the next National Hurricane Center advisory. I don't know. I hope so. We'll have to see.
That comes at 4 o'clock, I think, our time.
There'll be plenty of updates across our social platforms. In any case, no matter what happens. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter. Search Force 13 all in text on there for social media updates. And of course, you can join the conversation on our Discord server. You can see it down there near the bottom right hand side, discord.gg/Force13. And in the meantime, we have our 24/7 service, our automated feed, which is running right now as well. youtube.com/Force13/live. Let's see what Recon get. We'll have news on that somewhere, but for now, we're finishing up our coverage here at HQ. Hope you have a good night. Stay safe out there. Hurricane warnings will probably be extended along the coast of Florida tomorrow. Good night.